I met someone from the People's Party who they said that they were trying to petition Nick Brana, the chairman, the national coordinator. He keeps changing his title of the People's Party, and they were getting like abused from them. They felt that they weren't listening to their concerns, that it was an undemocratic system, that they would just tell people what to do, and there wasn't any really recourse for anything. That at one point the powers that be said it was okay if users used the N word.
I completely agree there. I mean, yeah, this is just material changes come in multiple forms. Getting people off of committees that are bad for progressive movements and getting people who are good for them on there is a material change. It's not symbolic. A
Right.
symbolic change would be like, oh yes, the entire House now says they support Medicare for all, and then they don't do anything to bring it up. That's symbolic.
It's the progressives who have the good policy. That's because the centrists don't keep helpful progressive policy in their drawers for a rainy day.
Yeah.
They're not inventive enough to do that.
No, although I think one of the things that we have a huge problem with is like when it comes to coming to the negotiating table, like liberals, they come to the negotiating table with their already watered down work and they go, here you go, here's our concessions.
Right.
Like progressive Democrats come forward and they go, here is what we would like, but we'll make some concessions. And the thing that they bring is usually not like super difficult or far fetched. I think what we really do need right now at this point is somebody truly able to just come up and be super fucking crazy far left. Somebody who comes up there and goes,
We need an enforcer.
here is my proposal, and you slam down free housing for all, decommodification of food, worker co-ops are the mandatory, and you just slap that down and you go, I'm not compromising on this.
Tucker, a day or two before the marches for Medicare for All, he didn't mention them. But he's supposed to be the Medicare for All guy. He's wrapped himself in Medicare for All, which is an issue that he was never super passionate before. And that would be fine, but he's gatekeeping everyone he can about it.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting. His fans are also doing it. If you look at the comments of some of my most recent like 2 or 3 videos, people are saying that all my opinions are wrong and evil and stuff like that. It's like I support Medicare for all. I just don't support the poorly thought out strategy that they've put forward to try and get it.
Right.
Like, if we actually want Medicare for all, why don't we get more left leaning people who want it in Congress? That way we have actual leverage instead of trying to force like 7 or 8 people in a body of 400 to do something that is not feasible for them to do.
Right. So their plan was to use the speakership vote for Pelosi to vote, not just not vote for her, but to vote against her,
Yeah,
to leverage their vote to get a floor for a Medicare for all vote, a Medicare for all vote on the floor, and then fail that, knowing that it could not pass, and then use that as ammunition to attack people who voted against it.
yeah, they wanted to get a list of individuals who did not vote for it so that they could try and primary them. But the thing is the way Jimmy Dore put it, is he wanted to get a list of the progressives who co-signed that didn't vote yes on it. Jimmy, that's a dumb fuck strategy. All the progressives who co-signed on it are gonna vote yes on it. They're just not buying into your stupid fuck strategy.
To the point where they care more about Medicare for all than the actual people who wrote Medicare for all. It's a ridiculous, because this plan wasn't organized well in advance. This was like put on, like I think Jimmy first proposed it in like November, and it picked up in like December,
Yeah.
and the vote was like a few days before the Capitol riots happened.
Chris Wong, there's an overemphasis on Dore. Dora is the one who hijacked this and has tried to make it into a big deal. And I mean, yes, it has brought attention to Medicare for All, but I think it's done it in a negative way, and that's why people criticize him and his involvement so much. I'm not a bit like I don't have a problem with like Brianna Joy Gray having done stuff for Medicare for All like that or whatever. And I don't think the march in and of itself was a bad move. I think the march was a good idea. It was just poorly implemented because it does show public support for the idea in a more real way than just looking at polling data.
If it were not for Dora and if it were not for the movement for a People's Party, I wouldn't have opposed forced vote.
Yeah.
In fact, there are times when we will need to put force votes onto the floor when we think they will lose for PR, but I don't think we were prepared. I don't think we were organized to do it. I think we have to be strategic. And I think that we need to, if insofar as we engage in electoralism, in parliamentarism, we need to be strategic about it. We're
Can't.
not going to change the system from within. If we are in the system, it's because we're trying to do harm reduction. It's a shield.
Yeah, always focus on harm reduction as a short-term strategy, and also try and have a long-term strategy of radicalization. That's the entire fucking point. That's what Lenin talks about. That's what Marx talks about. That's what Bakunin talks about. Literally every theorist I've ever read has mentioned some form of participating in bougie electoralism, in a form of harm reduction, though not in those exact words, to make it to where people can be alive and radicalized more easily, because under like an authoritarian right government, you won't have that opportunity. It will just kill you.
Lenin wrote a very interesting piece called "Left-Wing Communism and Infantile Disorder,"
Yep.
and it doesn't fit perfectly within the politics of now. It's not as if I represent Leninism, but I feel that what he's talking about, where we shouldn't be afraid to go into bourgeoisie parliaments and then be afraid of being co-opted, because we need to be stronger than them. We need to beat them. We need to be able to resist their influence. And if we can't resist their co-option before the revolution, he felt that it would be even harder after the revolution. He felt the bourgeoisie would be at their strongest at that point.
Yeah, and he's absolutely right. I mean, literally every single time. Because if you look even at the history of the USSR in and of itself, it had those kinds of issues, where after the revolution, the people who were the strongest at that particular point in time did have the power. It was Lenin, it was Trotsky, it was Stalin, it was the Central Committee, and it went to shit because the workers didn't actually control a goddamn thing.
That's my understanding, yeah.
From everything I've ever been able to find. Now, I mean, people will point to their constitution and be like, but their constitution says this. And it's like, yeah, but is there any concrete evidence that that's a thing that they actually did? No. Well, there's a lot of evidence that they did literally the opposite of what they said they would, so.
Anyway, but to get back to, so my problem was with Thor, and I kind of, opposed him, and I would talk shit to, but then I met someone who was involved in the People's Party, the movement for a People's Party, which Thor promoted, had a town hall about, did a drive to get people to do their email list, to sign up for their newsletter, which people felt was harvesting their data. But I can't confirm that. Other people say they can. Yeah, but and then I met someone from the People's Party who was they said that they were trying to petition Nick Brana, the chairman, the national coordinator. He keeps changing his title, of the People's Party, and they were getting like abused from them. They felt that they weren't listening to their concerns, that it was an undemocratic system, that they would just tell people what to do, and there wasn't any really recourse for anything. That at one point the powers that be said it was okay if users used the N-word, and a lot of people left because of that. And there were a lot of things going on, and people formed a petition, and everyone who signed the petition got purged in January. They actually fired half of all their organizers and put out a statement about how these were infiltrators from our political enemies.
What? The People's
Yeah,
Party did this?
yeah, I have the screenshot. It's buried, but it's there. If you go to at MPP petitioners on Twitter, they have a website. You could look at all the receipts they have.
Huh.
Some of these people have gone on. There's Renee Johnson, and she's gone on. Tim Black. She's gone on the Vanguard podcast. She's gone on a few podcasts and talked about it, as well as a few other activists. They've gone on Neil Elkham's podcast, Dirty Left Feet, and I'm trying to get them on Andrea's podcast. Andrea is Andrea Ravensky. She does a podcast. Her ad is Andrea Ravensky,
Okay.
and and a lot of these MPP petitioners, but they were keeping it quiet. They were trying to address it behind the scenes without making a fuss for a while, and eventually they weren't able to. So they came out, and in the fallout of this, a lot of the people involved with MPP, like Ryan Knight, left.
Ryan Knight left the Movement for the People's Party?
Yes, he didn't cite the MPP petitioners, though. In fact, he never really. I don't know if he ever really addressed them. Some people felt that he listened, but I don't know if he's done really enough. But he said he left because, oh well, the MPP wasn't left wing enough,
Of
which
course.
is
Of course that's what he
which
said.
is which is true actually, because they refused to work with the Green Party because they said the Green Party was too socialist. That's according to Howie Hawkins.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. See, this is news to me for a guy like. I mean, fuck. Jimmy Dore is constantly talking about how people aren't socialist. Him and not Jim, Mike from PA, both. They're not socialist. This is a real socialist answer. Follow Bernie Sanders and do real socialism. Well, the things you list as real socialism aren't fucking socialism. So I do find it a little funny. He would say things like you need to learn how to do real socialism like Bernie Sanders, but oh, the Green Party is too socialist.
According to Nick Brana and the platform of the People's Party, they're not interested in creating a new third party. They're creating a new big tent party like the Democratic Party that will have right wingers and left wingers.
Of course, yeah, because it's the Red Brown Alliance.
They literally say it.
Yeah, because they're
And
not smart enough not to say it.
and they're allowing anyone in. So, they allowed a lot of Nazbols and a lot of tankies. They purposely courted them using revolutionary language. But what's interesting about an electoral organization engaging, in revolutionary language, it's contradictory. It's a grift because you're not going to affect revolutionary change through a third party that doesn't even admit that it's a third party. That it's not even signed up to the FCC to be able to field candidates or engage in fundraising for candidates.
So, okay, so it has literally no legitimacy at all as a party.
It's not a party; it's a movement for a party.
Well, if you want to do a movement for a party, it's actually just as easy to do a thing that's MPP is a capitalist organization, so it's bad branding for Ryan Knight, who's supposed to be an ultra socialist. Yeah, yeah, and I mean that is something I do find funny. Is like literally everything that he says is essentially, oh, I don't like this person. They're not socialist enough.
Right.
That's just his line. You're not a socialist. You're not a real socialist. The DSA, which is full of fucking Marxist-Leninists, isn't. I mean, I agree when he says that at this point, but when he said it initially, they weren't full of the tankies.
There's criticism that could be levied to the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, but I don't think it comes from Ryan Knight. I don't think it comes from the MPP.
No, no, which is why I
I
love
like
the.
anarchist criticism of the DSA.
Yeah, I mean, I consider myself pretty much an anarcho-syndicalist, and more kind of in the medium term, but I would prefer like just orthodox anarchism in the long term.
Right.
But yeah, no, I can't have Ryan Knight be the person coming out making huge criticisms of the DSA and saying that they're not socialist enough and everybody that he disagrees with isn't socialist. I mean, he called Vosh not a socialist. He said Hassan isn't a socialist. He's pretty much said anybody he doesn't like isn't a socialist.
Right. And they're gatekeeping. But they
Of
have like
course.
no skin in the game. They've barely been in it.
Well, yeah, and I mean, Ryan Knight himself was literally like back in the height of the 2020 election was a big fucking what was it, Klobuchar? Like was going for Klobuchar, and then started to move towards Warren, and then stayed hard with Warren until the end of the election, and like right before the end of the election, and then boom, Bernie Sanders. I'm now a full socialist. I'm gonna change my Twitter handle to Proud Socialist. I'm just gonna go absolutely ham on this idea.
Right.
That felt like a huge grift to me, and especially with the uh, what do you call it, the Patreon for his podcast, which was like, you're a tier one, sees the means of production comrade for $15 a month, and it's like, Jesus, you're starting at 15 a month, dude.
You
It's
mean there's still going to be wage slavery in your system? I thought the whole point was to skip over all this.
yeah, but no, he's. I mean, I don't mind him making money on his thing, but when you come out after like within 2 months of you becoming a socialist, and you suddenly have tier lists for your Patreon starting at $15, sees the means of production comrade. The top one was like $85 a month. And it's like, okay, that is huge. That is a huge money
Imagine
grab.
the goal to say this is how much money that I'm gonna make. How much does he make in total?
I don't know. I haven't bothered to check back in. I
I
heard
don't
about
think
it.
it's public.
I don't know if it is actually. Shit, my income's public. I'm pretty open about that shit. Most
That's cool.
people, I mean, most people who do this kind of stuff should. Everybody who does this should be public about their income. Every
Right.
single person who does YouTube streams, Twitch, whatever. And since I'm not even able to be monetized because my numbers are way too low, you can tell that I'm not making anything off of this. The great thing
It's
about
a
having small
labor of
numbers.
love.
Yes, that's literally what I tell people who try and come into my comments and they make fun of me for not having any viewers on some of my videos and stuff. I'm just like, yeah, I do it because I like it. I would still do this even if literally nobody watched. It's just fun. That's all it is.
So the MPP fell off, and hasn't really been out there. Hasn't been a force for anything in a few months now. Uh, you know, uh, our revolution, Orange County, disassociated from them, as did several other branches, places across the country, in light of the coming public of the MPP petitioners, who they are still lied about and smeared to this day, and they feel that they're not being given their fair shake.
Uh, the and I've actually I had a conversation with somebody from my revolution that actually just dissociated from them, and I'm now curious as to why, because I think it's around the same time that our revolution and People's Party thing just stopped associating with each other, and I'm curious as to if that was why. Because if he's caught up in the Jimmy Dore thing, I feel really bad. It's my job right now to keep my viewers off of that. There's no good to be had there.
The People's Party was even putting out pamphlets. It's like, what to do for homework? You can work with outside organizations. Which ones are good? Well, look for ones that don't associate with the Democratic Party.
Yeah, and that's another thing with Jimmy Dore and his grift and everything. Because I
That's
feel
all
like
it is.
he just attacks Democrats. When is the last time he attacked like major Republicans?
Right, and that's what we mean by red-brown alliance. It's more of it's a political, I don't want to say belief, but sort of affiliation where you're going out of your way to defend people who were like rioters on January 6th, or MAGA people, working class, whatever,
Max Blumenthal.
and then you hate liberals, and the focus of your politics is in hating liberals and people who aren't left enough, and it's not interesting. And it's, like, people say, oh well, it's more interesting than people the left. No, it's not. It's more interesting. See, the focus of your ire should be your biggest enemies. With, I
Huh?
mean, are the squad our allies? I think so.
I
I
do,
think
but
that for AOC, I'm critically supportive of her.
that's the difference. See, he is following the be hardest on your biggest enemies, because to him the right isn't his enemy; they are his biggest allies.
Right.
So he's following that principle, but claiming to be a leftist while rejecting leftists.
I don't even think that there's a lot of people on the right, like, as if the purpose was to build a real coalition with the right wing. It's not going to amount in a lot of numbers, and I think these people know that, and I think they're just doing it to build a right wing audience for their podcast,
Yeah, because it gets more money that way. But
because
they hope.
AOC has the most recognition on the right.
Yeah, I mean, she has a lot of recognition on the right. That's part of the reason Jimmy Dore attacks her so much. That, and she won't send him feet pics, and also won't go on to show
Yeah, that's what this is about.
feet pics and won't go on
It's
the show. Yeah, that's exactly what it's
it's
about.
narcissism. It's the
Definite.
same kind of narcissism we criticize Trump for.
Yeah, yeah. That's why he does. I mean, that's why he defends Trump so hard, because he recognizes himself in him.
He cannot be allowed to be a thought leader on the left because he is a charlatan. He is a demagogue. He is bringing us down a path where we're just sabotaging ourselves.
That's his entire job. That's what he's out here to do, like on purpose.
Yes.
And in no way do I believe that he is here to actually try and make the left better. Oh, the tricky section.
Oh, are you playing Destiny 2?
Yeah,
I used to play that. I had it on PS4.
I did too, but my PS4 died.
Oh,
All
it
four
sucks.
of, actually all five of them. I'm not going for number six.
Is it good? Is it good yet?
They've done a lot to improve it. Yeah. Uh,
Uh,
when was the last time you had played?
um, I stopped after Trials of Osiris and then went back when they after that you went on that big black ship.
Oh, Shadowkeep. Okay, yeah. So
Yeah, Shadowkeep.
you know about the weapon changes and stuff. Well, they've been doing some more work and changes and trying to keep it fresh and
I heard they made these really annoying supers
yeah,
that freeze
stasis.
everything.
Yeah,
Oh
stasis. I actually
God.
am supposed to be using them right now for these strikes, and I'm not because I'm very dumb. But uh oh, so yeah, red brownism. For the audience, red brownism is the idea that communists can work with fascists, Nazis, and the Nazbol vortex to achieve class liberation by dropping the social issues that they're supposed to be like really hard on.
And I think it's more than just. First of all, I don't even think Red Brown Alliance really describes what we're trying to describe, because we're not just talking about communists and fascists, and it's not an overt political alliance the way like the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact was, which was a Red Brown
Yeah,
Alliance.
yeah.
But another example is in Crystal Ball's Path to Power, how she describes that the populist left should combine with the populist right in order to, how would I put it? In order to combine against the establishment.
Yeah, yeah. They kind of have different wordings for it at this point, but the general idea is you work with because populist right is just fascist. Let's face it. And so the idea is you work with the populist right to achieve workers' rights, class liberation, because a lot of the people who posture in the fasci side like to push socialist rhetoric, a lot like Hitler did. What's really effective? Talking about the plight of workers. They're the biggest group in the entire country. They're the biggest group in the world. So I mean, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact is actually where we got the term for Red Brown Alliance. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I would say so.
And it's a time honored tradition with people who follow the Marxist-Leninist ideology. Work
But
with.
it's also these rad libs, these people who they're like barely socialists, but they think that they're more interested in working with extreme right wingers than they are with liberals. And I think we have to work with the normies. I think we have to radicalize the normies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, it comes down a lot to, in my opinion, misunderstandings of Lenin's writings, because Lenin criticized liberals a lot, but he also talked about meeting them and at their levels of radicalization so that you could try and like actually get real work done.
Right.
But they just ignore this constantly. And they're like, "Oh, well, you're a liberal, so you're not ever going to be worth it to me." How are they not? Like, explain, please.
Yeah, and I watched the discussion the other day. I need to read it about Marx and the Third Internationale. Not the, or it was the
The
second or the
the
third.
yeah, the second and third international.
And it talked about how he was negotiating with a lot of people, and he was trying, come in between. There was a wide spectrum of leftist thought with some very reactionary people. They had like these reactionary trade unionists, and they had people that were to the left of Lenin. I mean, to the left of Marx, and
Yeah,
and he kind of took positions in the middle and tried to get people to combine themselves.
yeah, because he was pretty big on synthesis, honestly. Like, Marx liked the idea of taking the thesis and the antithesis and combining them into the synthesis, so that you would have a ideal solution that was, because democracy. You want to try and make compromises with people to make them happier, so long as they don't compromise on your values to a great degree.
Right.
But no, again, people just don't understand this. I I don't know if it's deliberate or if people are just not intelligent enough to at this point anymore, or if they just willfully ignore what logical chains are. But I've never seen anything in Lenin's writing that, or Marx's writing, or literally any leftist theorist, outside of some very niche ones, that says you should never work or compromise with liberals. I
Lenin talked about the need sometimes you need to take strategic retreats. By the way, you should put a riff down
I
somewhere.
probably should. I never do.
I know your teammates will appreciate you for it. Um,
That was actually
talked about is it cowardice if we're engaging in strategic retreat? No, so that we could attack later. And he criticized people that described themselves as left communists
well,
for feeling that way.
I mean, sometimes the thing is you're not going to be able to win what you want, such as with the force the vote strategy to get the hold up the speakership. That was never going to be a thing, ever. There was literally no chance that was ever going to happen.
I thought David Shirota's idea was interesting to change the asks.
Yeah, I mean, you could change the asks. They could hold up the infrastructure bill. There, like other things like that,
Well, now
because
they can't because this
well, they
was for the
can't now.
speakership vote.
Well,
Oh,
I'm
they're
saying like,
holding it up in a different way.
yeah, like
But
force the
we
vote
could
as
talk
a
about that later.
concept is a
But
different thing.
he
But
also
yeah,
talked about negotiating, getting our enemies like Richie Neal out of committee assignments, like the Ways and Means Committee, which that's who
yeah,
would write the bills and the amendments.
yeah. Committee concessions are a big deal, and that's what.
More
Who
important
was
than the
it that
bill
told
on
me
the
the word?
floor is what's in it.
I'm trying to remember who that was on Katie Halper's show. I saw the clip that Jimmy Dore was it Matt Stoley?
Matt Stoller, you mean?
Yeah, he was talking to Jimmy and Brianna and Katie and
Yeah, he's pretty good. Jimmy was too mean to him.
Wachowski. If you don't think getting people who can write legislation that are terrible for writing legislation off of committees is not a material change and is just a symbolic change, then you're a fucking idiot. Getting bad
Well, I mean,
people off
Medicare
of
for all is a
committees.
material change, and so is any progress we could take to get into that direction. We need to strengthen our position. so that we
Yes.
do have a majority of people in Congress who support it.
Yeah, I completely agree there. I mean, yeah, this is just material changes come in multiple forms. Getting people off of committees that are bad for progressive movements and getting people who are good for them on there is a material change. It's not symbolic. A
Right.
symbolic change would be like, oh yes, the entire House now says they support Medicare for all, and then they don't do anything to bring it up. That's symbolic.
Right. Because people could still vote for it and know it would fail in the Senate. So it's not even really representative of what they would want.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not even representative of the list that Jimmy Dore wanted to create.
no, Jimmy Dore was really interested in posturing on that one.
So, and we could fight and we can keep fighting.
Yeah, there's always the ability to keep fighting. We are in
Right
no
now,
way locked into any singular strategy, any singular way of moving. Like, we have the ability to be fluid in our action.
right now we're trying to pass Medicare expansion through the infrastructure bill.
Mm-hmm.
And there are four aspects to Medicare expansion. I don't know them all, but it's, expanding
It you
coverage to dental and vision, increasing the age of, lowering the age of eligibility, um, negotiate. There's a part that allows Medicare to negotiate with pharma providers.
Oh, see, I didn't know about
Yeah,
that
there's
part.
negotiations
I
in it.
I knew
And there's
about
another thing,
lowering the eligibility age to 60, adding vision, dental, and I think hearing into it. I'm not 100% sure on hearing, but I know
vision, dental, hearing. Yeah.
they're all in there. Okay, sweet. So I knew about those. I did not know about negotiating drug prices, which is
And there's
fucking
another thing.
phenomenal.
I just watched a conversation with Pramila Jayapal. Um, and by doing that, people say it's half measures, but that actually makes Medicare cheaper to pass in the future because that's doing some of the legwork earlier on.
Yeah. So let's see. To include in his infrastructure pack. Go away. I don't
Did you
care.
hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to look at the bill. Could you repeat that?
Okay. Um, it actually makes Medicare cheaper in the long run because you're doing some of the legwork earlier on.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you're trying to expand Medicare to include more people, and you were to do it like in a 4 year plan to include everybody, it would cost more money because you're trying to do more work all at once. But if you slide in increases to Medicaid expansions to it, then you're going to lower the cost each time you do it.
Right.
Fuck you, New York Times.
And what's interesting is the Medicare legislation, Medicare for all legislation, is incremental. It doesn't just it does not a snap your fingers and everyone has Medicare. That there are stages of implementation, starting with starting with half measures like Medicare for all who want it, people enrolling, and until eventually everyone within I think 3 years gets Medicare.
Yeah, because it was a 4 year rollout plan. I don't know why people thought that if we passed Medicare for all in the way that the bill was written, we would have everybody would be able to just go to the doctor tomorrow. Like that seems to be the way a lot of the Jimmy Dore crowd took that. Oh, what is
What's important is that Medicare for all is the most popular progressive policy. So the fate of every other progressive policy rests on the fate of Medicare for all.
Yeah, so we need to get it through. Although the world kind of rests on some sort of Green New Deal, so we have a really tough spot, I think, where we need to be able to push Medicare for all to try and show that we can get victories done. But we also really, really have to be pushing for renewable energies. Like I did some research recently on nuclear energy, and it turns out that yeah, no, nuclear is ridiculously good.
Nuclear could be very helpful to transition away from fossil fuels.
Oh, that's the fourth part of the Medicare expansion. It had an out of pocket cap.
Okay, out of pocket caps. I can remember that.
Yeah, so it's lower the eligibility age, improve benefits to include dental, vision, hearing, and an out-of-pocket cap, and then empower Medicare to negotiate drug prices for all Americans. Sweet. Been trying to find out the entire time, and I had to go to Common Dreams to get that information.
What's
But
the max light level on that guy, by the way?
oh,
What can you do now?
I can get up
1400?
to no, it's 1330. They changed the way that they're doing the increases to where it's not every season you get like 30 points or whatever. I think it's a 5 to 10 point increase with a bit of a different rollout on gear.
And do the little points make a difference?
Every so often they do, but
Right.
not really. I mean, once you get to the point where you're not below the power level of the thing, then it doesn't matter how much higher you are than it, you will still die.
Right. All right. So we talked about force to vote. We've talked about Medicare. We've talked about kinds of left theories of change. And I was saying before that, I think that, we need to, if we engage, I think we need to have a foothold in Congress. We need to do our best to resist co-option. The way to do that isn't to just yell
No.
mercilessly to politicians who, and hate them. And
Yeah, there's a lot more that we could be doing. We need to show critical support to, yeah, like the squad, all the progressives in Congress, especially since if you pay attention to actual committees, which obviously Jimmy Dore doesn't, he yelled at people even bringing up committee assignments. But if you actually
right.
pay attention to them in their committees, they're doing some really good fucking work, which is part of the
Yeah.
reason I do like to watch some of Brian Tyler Cohen. Even though he is a liberal, he brings up a lot of really good clips of progressives doing their fucking job.
Um, you should link me to that. But I read an article about the strategy of the Progressive Caucus, and it has been proposition, not opposition. Have you ever heard that before?
Sorry, what?
Their strategy in the Progressive Caucus has been proposition, not opposition.
Yeah, I've heard that. I'm not entirely sure how well
They
that
are
plays.
proposing bills and amendments and policy ideas, and they're not trying to block as much. They're not engaging in a coalition. They're negotiating behind the scenes, and part of what's good about that, it's the progressives who have the good policy. That's because the centrists don't keep helpful progressive policy in their drawers for a rainy day.
Yeah.
They're not inventive enough to do that.
No, although I think one of the things that we have a huge problem with is like when it comes to coming to the negotiating table, like liberals, they come to the negotiating table with their already watered down work and they go, "Here you go, here's our concessions."
Right.
Like progressive Democrats come forward and they go, "Here is what we would like, but we'll make some concessions." And the thing that they bring is usually not like super difficult or far fetched. I think what we really do need right now at this point is somebody truly able to just come up and be super fucking crazy far left. Somebody
We
comes up
need
there and
an
goes,
we need an
"Here is
enforcer.
my proposal," and you slam down free housing for all, decommodification of food, worker co-ops are the mandatory, and you just slap that down and you go, "I'm not compromising on this." You can either
But
work
the
with
ability to do that depends on your coalition.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think if you had just one offsetting like super left person, then you could use them as leverage to go, you can start working with this person who's going to try and literally just go full anarchist with this country, or you can work with the less out there progressives who are pushing for Medicare for all instead of complete abolition of the commodity form.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Like I do feel that we kind of need that, especially since people are like the Republicans will call everybody a communist. If you have a communist come out and go, no, here's a communist proposal, here's another one, here's another one. That has a chance of radicalizing people because I mean Bernie Sanders, all he did is come out and go Medicare for all, Green New Deal, student debt relief, and people, next thing I know, I'm looking around on like Twitter and stuff, and most people I see are liberals.
Right,
3 4 months later, it's guillotine, eat the rich, defund the police, and I'm just like, holy shit, when did this happen?
right. So the way they're using leverage now, it's been months, and they haven't been really opposing anything. They let the stimulus bill be watered down. There wasn't any kind of attempt by the Progressive Caucus to hold it up or negotiate for something a little better. But now we're starting to see that with this infrastructure bill, that the Progressive Caucus is threatening that if it's too low, they're not going to vote for it. They have a caucus of like 30 people who are willing to, some people who are progressive, some people who aren't, who are willing to withhold their vote in the House of Representatives if it doesn't have sufficient climate policy.
Yeah, they need to leverage themselves a little bit more. I do. One of the criticisms I can leverage at the squad is I do not think that while they've been doing good work in committees, they haven't been holding hard to what they need to be doing.
Their rhetoric needs work too.
Yeah, but I mean, they've got some leverage that they could be holding in their committees themselves. Part of the reason they needed to be on committees, because if they're in a committee that's important enough that can like pass like legislation onto the floor, they can leverage themselves there. Because the way that I've said this before, and I will hold this until somebody can prove me wrong. I view the House a lot like I view a business in the sense that there's a shitload of people there. The speaker is like the owner of the business. She sets forth the legislation. She has the all the power, or he, and depending on who. But right now it's Pelosi. So Pelosi has all the power. She gets to say what goes up to the floor for a vote. Well, you as an individual, AOC as an individual, doesn't have the ability to just go up to Pelosi and say, no, bring this up to a vote. 4 people don't have that ability. 6 people don't have that ability. 10 people don't have that ability. So yeah, I mean, like you said earlier, we need to build more numbers. Treat it like a union. The
Yeah,
collective
it's not
leverage.
going to take half. It's not like we need to control half of Congress before we start seeing any gains, though.
No, but if we had
Um,
25 people in there that are
Mike from
left,
PA said that if we just need get like a dozen more, we could probably be good. I don't
yeah,
know the math on that though.
that would put us at, yeah, probably around 20 people, 20 to 25 people. We would have enough leverage. This is a place where I've never heard Mike say this, but I agree with him there.
It was in a video about the movement for a People's Party from like January, February.
I don't really like Mike from PA, so I don't watch him.
You
But
know,
it,
he has some value, he has some insight, but he's an asshole.
yeah, it's that, and he does have some valuable insight. I can give him that. I mean, I don't like him as a personality. I think we would
Right.
clash way too much. I mean, I can agree with him on some things. Also, his I can't stand him on a debate panel, or individual debates. Like every single time I've heard him debate, I hate to say it, Destiny. Destiny is fucking shitty, but he did kind of manhandle Mike in like all of those debates.
I listened to some of the debates. I listened to them debate about
Oh, except for the AOC is economically illiterate one. Actually, Mike did really well in that.
Mike did do good on that one. I listened to that. I listened to the one where it was about stock buybacks. I thought that was kind of even.
He did better in that one. He was also more measured in that one, and he wasn't the same way he was with, say, Vosh or Hunter Avalone.
And did you see him going after Bo of the sixth column or
Oh
whatever
my
column it
god.
is?
Yeah, Bo of the fifth column. Yeah, that was vicious and brutal. That was not. It was uncalled for a guy
It
who
was
hasn't been
unnecessary.
talking.
You could be like, the people in my Discord are bringing me all these concerns, and I was just, they want me to make like a video, and I don't really know if that's the way. I was wondering if you can maybe talk to me about how you feel about this, or have a conversation with him. Reach out to him. That's what a journalist would do.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what he bitched about Hunter, and so he's like, "Why did you not talk to me before you made that video on me?" And it's like, dude, you did literally the exact same thing to Bo. You did the same thing to Vosh. You did the same thing to Demon Mama. You do the same thing to Destiny. Like,
Right.
I don't
He
like
and
Destiny.
he
I
just
don't.
went after Lance from the Surfs.
Oh, come on.
Lance
What?
just made a video responding to it.
Jesus Christ, that's gonna be.
Because Lance just made a very funny YouTube video called Meme Stinny, making fun of Destiny. And Mike's response was like, "Oh, look who was right. You see, I was right about Destiny." And he's like, "Really? You have to respond that way? Like this
Yeah.
hasn't been a he said this hasn't been a thing in months, and that's not why, Lance was saying that's not why we're having a beef either."
No, Mike does that too, because that Vosh called this one when he had his debate. If you've seen that video, he came out and said the modus operandi of Mike from PA is to stir up shit with larger communities and then benefit by whining about them forever.
Right.
So that is kind of what he does
And
constantly.
let's be clear, Destiny is fucking garbage.
Yeah, yeah, no, I shit talk Destiny on Twitter constantly because he's such a bad fucking influencer.
I used to be on his Discord, and like in 2017, and he would never be there, and it was funny because like half the people there hated him.
Yeah,
He
I
actually hates his
he
own
he hates his
community on
whole yeah
Discord.
he hates his whole community. He hates almost everybody. He thinks most
He's
people.
kind of sociopathic.
He has major problems with narcissism and a little bit of a Dunning Kruger effect, in my opinion. He does put himself more high and mighty than he is. So I find problems with him for that. He's not necessarily bad because he's wrong all the time, because he is a pretty smart dude.
He has some intelligent things to say. He just doesn't have empathy for people, and his politics doesn't come from empathy.
Yeah, he's straight
He,
up
he's
said
like
that
and
empathy is detrimental. He's pulled the Ben Shapiro line of empathy is detrimental to policy.
right. And Sam Cedar kind of schooled him.
Yeah, I wanted to watch that from Sam Cedar's point of view, but Destiny's the only one who's uploaded a video that I've been able to find on it.
Oh no, the people commented on it. I've done commentary videos.
Okay. So a lot of the time when it comes to that, I like to watch them just go at it. Although sometimes I will pull up like Demon Mama going over a debate or something because I like Demon Mama.
Right. And I used to be on the Discord back when there was this guy named Irish Laddie who was being a sex pest to some of the people there.
Yeah, that's Vosh.
I know. I knew him. I knew of him back when he was Irish Laddie, and then he
Yeah.
became like this big thing, and we were all kind of sore about that. But he's made some efforts to kind of move past that
Oh,
and and, and
he
not
didn't
really be
address
that
it.
same kind of person.
He didn't address
What?
it very well initially, I think, because I do follow him. I
No.
am a subscriber. He did not address it very well initially.
Rip.
Since then, he has tried to, and he's even
Yeah.
like shown logs where he's tried to reach out to Poppy to apologize and not expect
Yeah.
any acceptance or anything, and she just goes off on him, which he understands. He's like, I'm not gonna like go out of my way to like
Yeah.
make it a big deal. I'm just
Poppy has
showing
a
you that I've
very
tried.
difficult history with men in her life.
I
A
can
lot of
understand. I
abuse.
mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So and that's what he said. He's like, yes, I was creepy. I fucked up. I've tried to apologize to her. I didn't handle it well initially. I had to like reflect for a little while, and then I looked over the logs a little while ago, and yeah, I was pretty fucking creepy and bad. So I mean, it is definitely something to watch, because he has been weird and creepy. But at the same time, like, you give him some benefit of the doubt, especially with it's been 5 years since then, and there haven't been any substantiated allegations against him of being a creeper or a sex pest. Maybe being weird.
I was talking to a trans woman who was telling me her concerns about him, and she felt that, he said that he got into streaming so that Eddie could, talk to trans girls or something. And she said that she felt that was predatory, and that she could never trust him because of that.
He supports the trans community. I've heard him like flirt with people, but
Yeah, it's that he fetishizes.
no, okay, no. See, he jokes a lot, and he does have some edgy humor that does get him in
Right.
trouble, and I can understand that. I laugh at the edgy humor. I'm nowhere near confident enough to be half that edgy. Let's be completely honest. But he's
I don't like that.
that, and he has toned that down a lot in the past 2 years. But
Yeah.
he still comes out sometimes and is a little edgy. No, no, like he shit. He even came out and did a video where he's like, "I'm gonna go over some of my old bad tactics and like
Yeah.
talk about how they are a problem and how I don't stand by them anymore." Like the tactical N word
I don't think he
bit.
apologized for that though.
Tactical, I think he did in that video. He said
No, he didn't. He didn't say I'm sorry. He said it was cringe.
he said it
He
was
didn't
cringe
actually
and he
say
shouldn't have done it, and he
right.
recognizes that it was bad. He did not come. I don't think he
He
said the
he
words
came
"I'm
as close
sorry,"
to
but
saying I'm sorry as you can.
yeah.
I
Now
think he could be clearer. I
Vosh,
think he regrets it.
he does regret it, but Vosh has a similar problem to Spitesney, and that is a degree of narcissism, where
Yes.
it's hard for him to admit when he was wrong. Not in a factual sense, because if he's factually wrong, then yeah. But when people criticize him on something like, "Hey, that was racist," he has a hard time like accepting that. Which I get. I mean, I've had hard times accepting stuff like that before. But you have to kind of look past it and apologize.
Right. And litigating Vosh. I'm not the most perfect person either. I've
No.
never been a sex pest, but I'm not like this woke kind of person it's just that a lot of people criticize him for it and cancel him because of that. And I'm kind of in the middle. I see their concerns, but I think that he's not
He's not
as terrible
bad.
as people make him out to be.
No, because a
So
lot of people's opinions of him come from like poorly, just clipped out like 10-second segments or 30-second segments of him saying something edgy in a way that is meant to make usually make fun of a Republican.
right,
Is usually what he's doing. He's making fun of somebody. Uh, imitating their mannerism, which honestly does get him in ass loads of trouble, and he should probably like think about how he's doing that because it does upset some people. His handling of criticisms from the email he got from a black viewer, I think that one was.
you should move before he gets sniped.
They're all concentrated over here, and I am concentrated on rocketing.
I think I'm seeing a delay in the feed. I'm
Yeah,
seeing. I
yeah.
just
There's
saw you guys.
uh, probably about
Sucks.
10, 15 seconds.
Okay. I mean, you don't even have heavy right now. You just respawned. Oh, don't worry about that.
Yep.
Anyway, also another thing, when Vosh was saying how he was talking about you did, quote unquote tactical N word and why it's bad because he talked about creating a culture of racism where the more you say it, the more normalized it becomes, and that's not a word that should be normalized.
Mhm.
And it seemed like he really understood the damage of what was bad with it.
Well, yeah, he's saying that if you are using that word, that aside from the fact that it's racist, like he does when he's doing descriptions of why something is bad, he tries not to touch on the very obvious features that everybody would agree, such as,
Right.
hey, this was racist, but he tries to focus more on uh, the things that are underlying it, why it will cause harm and could continue to cause harm in the future.
Right.
And he's not exactly wrong. I do think sometimes he needs to go over the just baseline, hey, this is racist. He does it when other people say something that's racist, but it's not super well known why the thing is racist. Is when he usually does that kind of explanation. He's like, hey, this is racist, and here's why it's racist, and this is why the effects it could have are really bad.
Right. I think he could do better, instead of him explaining these things, bringing on more people of color to talk about these things,
Yeah,
centering their voices.
that is a criticism he has gotten, and I do, in a sense, disagree with some of his replies to it, which are I don't take people's word just because of their skin tone. Like, if he can't describe it himself, then he's not doing his job appropriately.
I
So
don't
he'd
I don't, I
rather
don't agree with that because
yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that either. Now, to be fair, his thing is he's like, I've heard a lot of people say that I need to listen to this black person about black issues, and the thing that they advocate is like not black nationalism, but like black supremacy, where they're like, no, black people need to control America and put white people in chains, and people are telling him to listen to this person because they're black, and he's like, no, I don't put any stock in that. But
yeah,
if they have
that's a
a
bit of a
reasonable
slippery
perspective,
slope.
yeah, if they have a reasonable perspective on things and they're not just going out there, yeah, we need to enslave whitey and stuff, but they're like, hey, I want to talk to you about why this is racist and how you can do better. You should be more than willing to pull them on and talk to them about it. So I do reject this assertion from him.
Right. And so we have some reasonable criticisms of him. We're not Vosh haters, but
No, I consider myself a pretty big Vosh fan overall, but I mean I can
yeah,
criticize people that I'm a fan of. If I didn't, then I would be a sycophant, not a fan.
you're gonna get sniped though. There, you should put a rift down. Ooh, he's up. He's flying. Oh no, I'm behind you. Bet I'm like 15 seconds behind. I'm not even gonna look at this. You're distracting me with your gaming. So anyway, so so I'm critical of people on the Jimmy Dore left, and I'm critical of people on my own side too.
Oh yeah, you
And
have
I'm
to be.
critical of myself. I'm not perfect.
No, I'm definitely not. I get shit wrong all the time. So if there's something I say, especially if somebody knows what the fuck they're talking about and they want to if they want to correct me on something, uh, I've misinterpreted something, like I'm totally willing to have them come on and I can explain where I got my idea or my interpretation, and they can explain theirs or whatever. Because yeah, I'm not perfect.
So in about 10 minutes, my friend is going to be debating Ben Burgess.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I helped debate coach her a bit. I'm going to be doing a post debate. So in 10 minutes, I'm going to switch over to that, unless you want to watch it with me.
I might. I do need to take myself a break here in a minute, but
She's debating him on the definition of fascism.
Ben Burgess. It's going to be on Ben Burgess's channel, I'd assume.
I'll link you to it.
Oh, versus. Oh, you're friends with Aaron Green?
Yeah, it's her.
Cool. Okay, I think I actually follow Aaron on Twitter. Not 100% sure if I do or not, but.
Yeah, now I'm spamming it to everyone on Twitter.
All right.
I'm going to be doing a post debate tomorrow, probably in the afternoon.
Hell yeah. If you, depending on what time, I should be getting off a little bit earlier tomorrow than I did today. But if you want to drop the link into the Discord server, I can take it to my other server that I'll also send you an invite to. But
Okay.
we can drop the links in there, and I can drop it into stream later, like tomorrow, and we can check all that out and go over it.
That'd be great.
I can give some input on it if you were interested as well.
That'd be great, yeah.
All right. Well, hell, it's been a pretty good conversation so far. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
I wanted to touch on the march, but I don't think we're gonna have time to go over all that.
Oh, I can just sum up real quickly what my position is. It's one sentence.
Yeah.
Good in theory, bad in execution.
What happened was, I don't know if you know about the extent to which a Boogaloo boy was involved in that.
I didn't.
Oh, interesting, because the whole thing, what happened was, this was a Boogaloo prank with the Matthew Heimbach thing.
Really?
Yeah. So it's not like they were intentionally trying to platform, literally Matthew Heimbach. They don't even think Matthew Heimbach was involved.
Huh.
But someone whose name was Ethan Ray Steele messaged, that the either the social media person or the Instagram person and a graphic designer person gave them this information with the name and the information, Matt H. Bach, and then they just put it in uncritically without doing any kind of vetting.
Oh God. Okay, well, if later after you do your debate analysis and everything like that, if you want to send over a link for with some
I'm not doing
information
the
on it,
debate analysis until tomorrow.
oh, we're watching the debate. But if
Yeah,
you
the
wanted to,
debate. I could send it to you now. I'm looking for it.
okay, hell yeah. But if you wanted to do that, I could go over
I
that
also
in a
sent you
little.
some screens in the Discord.
Yeah, for Ben Burgess's status, I'm actually gonna go ahead and repost those onto Twitter myself. So,
Also, Nick Brana recently changed his name, his title. He originally was national coordinator. Now he's national chair.
oh, really?
He's such a narcissist. They describe it as the people who used to be in the MPP describe it as a dictatorship.
Fucking hell. Why do people with such big egos have to be the ones who get the most? It's because they have such big egos. They throw themselves out there constantly. That's why.
Yeah, especially when they get support from people like Jimmy Dore and Kyle Kowinski.
Yeah, man.
And then they lie about the extent to which Bernie Sanders. He said, "Oh yeah, I was on the campaign. He was an intern.
Right, or with Jimmy
He
Dore and
lied.
his
He said he was an intern."
Jimmy Dore and his. I've done more for Medicare for all than Bernie has. No, you haven't. Shut the fuck up, dude.
It's so disgusting.
Yeah, it's
You know,
absolutely
he he
horrendous.
he once even said on the show that he's not against capitalism.
Of course he's not. That's why I would say he's not a socialist. He's never advocated for worker control of the means of production, the abolition of the commodity form, or anything like that.
He literally said that we could just we could just reform capitalism and make it work.
No, so he's a fucking statist sock dem. Okay.
He's a liberal.
Yeah.
He's a rad lib.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose that's true. Well, fuck. He's a rad lib, and apparently because of how many times I get called a shit lib, that's what I am. I stole it. I'm reclaiming it for the channel. It's the new
Well,
term for
it
anarchists.
becomes shit libs versus rad libs.
Yeah. I mean, anarchists, the shit libs versus the rad libs, the Nazball vortex.
Yes.
So, I'm
And
glad
and
to
we
have
and we
you on my
never said
side.
a definition of Nazbol. If there's anyone who doesn't know, it's a connection between like national socialist and a Bolshevik. There's no there aren't real Nazi Bolsheviks. It's usually just people who are kind of red brown.
Yeah.
These people who are race reductionists who are for social democratic programs or lean into communism, but then work with fascists and become indistinguishable from them.
Yeah, it's what populism leads you to a lot of the time. So,
Yep.
this is why I'm not a populist.
Third positionism is becoming popular on the internet, and it's concerning.
That's just Strasserite.
The thing about Strasserism, though, is they weren't left wingers. It was sort of they actually, a modern Strasserite is I'm back actually. Using the language of social democratic programs and workers and stuff, but
Pushing for
then everything else is
Nazism.
just Nazi.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much what third position. I mean, Eric Stryker calls himself a third positionist. He's a fucking Nazi.
It's a little different from what we're seeing because he's a Nazi kind of leaning into socialist language, whereas people who are on the left and are like pining over right wingers, the way that like liberals pined over John McCain and the reasonable Republican. It's the
Yep.
same thing.
Oh God. Yeah. That's kind of the natural conclusion of that. Honestly, that's where that goes. When you go that left with that same mentality, that's what you end up doing. You have the same mentality as the liberals who did that, but you just push leftist rhetoric. So
Yep.
it's fucking awful. So
I'm gonna hop off now though and get ready, get
right.
myself situated, smoke a bowl, and watch the next stream.
Right on. Well, shit, it was great having you on. I hope to have you on more often.
That'd be great.
Anytime. You just let me know.
All right. Have a good day.
You too. Take care. God, that was such a good fucking conversation. That was wonderful. Do you see how productive we can be when we have people coming over here? And Wachowski, if you're still here, I'm sorry for calling you a fucking idiot. But honestly, yeah. If you don't think committee changes are worthwhile, then you are not educated politically enough to make this kind of determination, in my personal opinion. It's okay, you can learn. But I do appreciate all of you tuning in. I will be back very shortly. I'm not cutting the stream. I just need to move around a little bit, and I don't smoke tobacco in my house outside of a blunt. So I'm going to take a quick break, and y'all enjoy this little ditty right here with the one and only Jonathan Mann.
Oh, there he is. Oh, no, Sam Cedar, what a fucking nightmare. 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 I always respect people who enter into the arena. You're going to do anything you can to avoid the debate. Come on, man. No idea that you were taking your show off early last time. I had no idea this was going to happen. Oh no, Sam Cedar, what a fucking nightmare. 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 I always respect people who enter into the arena.
Seems that even Crowder had gotten some cold feet, so I don't think he's coming.
Why is that?
I would love to ask him myself. He's not even answering anymore.
Oh no, Sam Cedar, what a fucking nightmare. 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 I had no idea this was going to happen. I thought Ethan was a stand-up guy.
All right, y'all, I'm hyped. Who else wants to come on? Anybody else want to have a conversation, I can drop the Discord link in chat. Anybody else wants to talk? We can get around to it. I wonder. Well, as it sits right now, I think that was literally one of the most productive conversations I've had in a while about exposing poor actors within leftist movements. Oh, geez, they're all in here. Okay, I don't care about machine guns. Oh, we have a very important piece of news right now. It's a commemoration to a musician that I have been following for over a decade at this point. It is Joey Jordison, who passed away at 48. The drummer for Slipknot. So we need to take a moment of silence in commemoration for Joey Jordison. All right. That was roughly a moment. Let's get back to it. I would play Slipknot, but that is copyright music, and I will definitely get my shit nuked if I start playing a bunch of Slipknot on this stream. And I'd like this one to be viewed, you know? Oh god, I'm gonna have to cut some stuff out of